All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a story that connects a massive, ancient epic straight to a phenomenon you can see happening right now. We are talking about ultimate sacrifice, unimaginable power, and just unparalleled devotion from the era of the Mahabharata. It's one of those narratives that effortlessly bridges thousands of years of history, all centering on a single warrior whose one unbreakable vow literally altered the course of the greatest war in Indian mythology.
The savior of the defeated, our Baba Shyam. Millions of people chant this exact phrase today at the Khatu Shyam temple in Rajasthan. They show up with their hopes, their struggles, and their prayers, looking for a lifeline when they feel absolutely defeated by life. But to truly grasp why this specific deity is known as the ultimate refuge for the losing side, we really have to dig into the high-stakes Mahabharata backstory behind the title. And it all kicks off with a young warrior making a promise that was, frankly, just way too powerful for the world to handle.
So our story begins with the number 3. This represents Barbarika, who is historically known as the Teen Bandari, the bearer of 3 arrows. Now, in a massive war where millions of soldiers, chariots, and weapons were lined up, 3 arrows might sound kind of insignificant, right? But through intense meditation, Barbarika had acquired divine weapons with a genuinely terrifying capability. These arrows possessed enough cosmic power to end the entire universe in a matter of minutes. He really only ever needed 3.
To understand how he got this kind of world-ending power, we have to look at his bloodline. Barbarika was born into a warrior lineage of just unimaginable strength. He was the grandson of the mighty Pandava, Bhima, and the son of Ghatotkacha and Kamkantaka. Born with these distinct curly hair, which actually is what gave him the name Barbarika, he was a total prodigy in martial arts right from childhood. He learned the art of war directly from his mother and was blessed with those 3 universe-destroying arrows by Lord Shiva himself. By all accounts, he was the ancient world's ultimate weapon of mass destruction.
But here's the real kicker: his vow. When the Great Kurukshetra War was declared between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, Barbarika obviously wanted in. But before leaving, he went to his mother for her blessing. She asked him for a promise, and he gave it without a second thought. He vowed he would only ever fight for the defeated side. Bound by this incredibly solemn word to his mother, he mounted his blue horse and rode out toward the battlefield, totally ready to tip the scales for whoever was losing.
Now, think about this for a second. Think about the absolutely terrifying paradox this creates. Let's walk through the logic loop here. Lord Krishna knew the Pandavas were eventually going to win, which meant the Kauravas would become the losing side. So, if Barbarika joined the Kauravas to fulfill his vow, his invincible arrows would immediately devastate the Pandavas. But the second the Pandavas started losing, Barbarika's vow would force him to switch sides. He'd then devastate the Kauravas until they started losing again. This endless, terrifying cycle would just keep going until Barbarika was literally the only survivor. His power, combined with that vow, meant absolute annihilation for everyone involved.
Knowing this fatal logic loop would completely doom the Pandavas and, well, essentially everyone else on Earth, Lord Krishna realized he had to step in. But he couldn't just fight Barbarika, he had to outsmart him. So Krishna disguises himself as a humble Brahmin and intercepts the young warrior on his way to the battlefield. Playing the part perfectly, the disguised Krishna looks at Barbarika and starts mocking him. He starts questioning why a supposed great warrior is riding to the biggest war in human history armed with just 3 arrows.
Barbarika just smiles at the Brahmin's ignorance. He confidently explains that a single one of his arrows is more than enough to wipe out an entire enemy army. But Krishna, testing him, challenges the young warrior. He points to a nearby massive peepal tree and says, "Well, if you're truly that great of a warrior, let me see you pierce every single leaf on this tree with just 1 arrow." I mean, it was an impossible test of precision.
Barbarika accepts the challenge. He meditates on Lord Shiva, draws a single arrow, and lets it fly. In this incredible flash of divine power, the arrow perfectly pierces every single leaf on that giant tree. But in a surprisingly funny and clever little moment, Krishna had cheekily plucked 1 leaf and hidden it under his foot. Well, the divine superweapon, perfectly programmed to hit its target, doesn't stop. After piercing all the visible leaves, it flies right down and starts hovering, literally like a homing missile, right around Krishna's foot.
The superweapon had caught the disguised god red-handed. Barbarika, showing some incredible situational awareness, politely but firmly warns the Brahmin. He says, "O Brahmin, remove your foot or this arrow will pierce it too, because there is a leaf hidden beneath it." This moment proved to Krishna, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Barbarika possessed absolute, terrifying precision. His weapons could not be fooled and his vow could not be broken.
Realizing that Barbarika even participating in the war would mean the end of everything, Krishna decides to make an unthinkable request. Still in his disguise, he asks the young warrior for charity. True to his incredibly noble nature, Barbarika promises to give the Brahmin absolutely whatever he asks for. And that is when Krishna asks for Sheesh Daan, the donation of Barbarika's own head.
Barbarika is completely stunned. He instantly realizes that no ordinary Brahmin wandering the woods would ever ask a warrior for his head as charity. Understanding that he's standing in the presence of the divine, Barbarika makes one final, beautifully devoted request before fulfilling his promise. He folds his hands and says, "I am ready to give my head, but please let me see your true divine form."
Lord Krishna grants this wish, revealing his magnificent, universal form. He embraces the young warrior, fully acknowledging the immense weight of what's about to happen. And then, on the day of Falguna Dwadeshi, without a single trace of fear or anger, Barbarika smiles. He willingly severs his own head and offers it right at the feet of Lord Krishna. He sacrificed his life and his chance at worldly glory just to ensure the balance of the universe was maintained.
But Barbarika had expressed one final desire before his sacrifice. He had really wanted to witness the great Mahabharata war. Touched by this ultimate sacrifice, Krishna honors the warrior's dying wish. He sprinkles Barbarika's severed head with divine nectar, making it immortal, and places it on a high vantage point, a hill overlooking the entire Kurukshetra battlefield. From there, Barbarika becomes the sole, silent, and completely objective observer of the entire epic war.
So, fast forward to the end of the devastating war. The Pandavas have emerged victorious, but of course, human nature kicks in. The brothers begin to argue amongst themselves, their egos flaring up over who was the greatest warrior, whose strategy was the best, and who truly deserved the credit for winning the whole thing. Seeing their pride getting out of hand, Lord Krishna decides to settle the debate once and for all. He brings the Pandava brothers to the hill, right to the only entity who watched every single second of the conflict, Barbarika's head.
When asked who was the real victor of the war, Barbarika's severed head delivers an absolute, crushing blow to the Pandavas' egos. He reveals the ultimate truth of the epic. He tells them that mortal egos, human weapons, and armies did absolutely nothing. He says, "I only saw Krishna's Sudarshan chakra spinning, and Mahakali drinking the blood of enemies." Barbarika's detached, objective perspective proved that only the divine forces were truly at work. The mortals were merely the instruments.
Deeply moved by Barbarika's profound realization of truth and his unparalleled sacrifice, Lord Krishna grants him an extraordinary boon. He declares that in the coming age, the Kali Yuga, which happens to be our current era, Barbarika will be worshipped by Krishna's own favorite name, Shyam. Krishna promises that whoever comes to him with a pure heart will have their wishes fulfilled, forever bestowing upon him the title Hare Ka Sahara, the support of the defeated.
And that brings us full circle. After the Mahabharata era ended, Barbarika's head was buried in a place called Sikar in modern-day Rajasthan. As our current age, the Kali Yuga dawned. A miracle occurred. A cow was observed spontaneously shedding milk over a specific spot of earth. When that spot was carefully excavated, the immortal head of Baba Shyam was discovered. This incredible, miraculous event led the local king to build a grand temple, installing the idol on Kartika Ekadashi. And yes, this is the very same Khatu Dham that stands today.
Which really leaves us with this final, profound question to ponder. In the grand scheme of this epic, was the real victor the one who fought on the battlefield, or the one who sacrificed absolutely everything without firing a single weapon? Think about that paradox as you consider the millions of people who find immense hope and strength at Khatu Dham today. Barbarika never actually fought in the war, yet he is remembered as the ultimate savior for anyone facing defeat. It's a truly powerful reminder of what true victory and selfless sacrifice actually look like.